pre-COVID, we were only allowed to have city-based hug events because it was all a physical event always. Right now, ever since the pandemic happened and things changed, so now event has gone global, and we now can have hugs not just around a city but also around topics. So let's say an account-based marketing, or let's say digital marketing could be also be a topic, right? So we continue to lead the New Delhi event. It's funny because now I am based out of Goa and still leading the New Delhi event. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, this way, the organization that I founded and that a lot of us are a part of here, we just opened an office in Goa, like 2 months back. Uh, and yeah, some of us have moved here. Obviously, why not, right? Who doesn't want to go to Goa? Anyway, uh, right. So cool. So that's, a little bit of history of Hug. I have been a leader 5 years now. The idea is to spread the HubSpot usage among the customers. Also bring in learnings that let's say if I'm using, you may be able to learn from my use case or things like that, right? So the idea is to collaborate and grow together as a community. And with that intention, the hug events. It's a community event meant only for HubSpot customers. People who are using HubSpot, they know that what they're doing, or they're trying to achieve some goals that eventually we would want to have in our business. So that's a little bit of history about HubSpot. Sorry, HubSpot user group. HubSpot, we all know, I'm sure. No need, that does not need an introduction, right? Quick intro about Nisway as well. I'm one of the co-founders, like I said. Nisway was founded in 2011. We were a digital marketing company, essentially, last or our initial 7, 8, probably 9 years. And with the pandemic changing things for everybody, for us also, we moved more towards marketing automation, sales automation, right, towards the automation side of things rather than working towards the marketing side of things, right? Last few years we've been very deeply engrossed in the HubSpot ecosystem. As a result of it, last year we were also we also became the HubSpot elite partner, and we were in fact the first agency in not just India, actually Asia, who became an elite partner. Only 50 companies across the globe were an elite partner at that time. uh, yeah. So a fair bit of HubSpot usage. We now are accredited with 3 certifications as well, right? So HubSpot has, I mean, one level is we do all these certifications, but then you go further, you can even get accredited with various things. So now Nisway is accredited with CRM, onboarding, as well as the latest one being custom integrations, right? So HubSpot acknowledges that we have built a lot of great custom integrations for their platform, and as a result of it, so they have a huge process, lengthy process where they will test out you and test your knowledge, look at your code, blah blah blah, lots of things. It's like going through a board exam, all over again. Uh, yeah, but yeah, we've gone through it thrice in the last 1 year and thankfully cleared all of them. Uh, in fact, they even speak to our customers before validating that whatever we are saying, whether it is right or wrong, right? So they speak to our customers and then they validate, okay, yes, what we are saying is actually what we are doing. So yeah, so Nestle has been in that ecosystem been a while, and we've been doing all of this. We've got a couple of awards as well, mostly for technical integrations or for customer impact, how we are impacting our customers. Last year we got that award in Southeast Asia, as the top agency. So yeah, so I mean that's a fair bit of credentials. We have customers across 30 countries now, and over 300 customers, where we support a lot of people using HubSpot or HubSpot apps in general. Okay, so yeah, so that's a short intro about Nestle. Uh, this event, we are going to learn from, as all of you can see on the screen, there are panelists. We are going to learn how they are implementing HubSpot in their organizations, what's their journey looking like, and what are people hoping to achieve, right? So Nilanjana, my colleague at Nisway, she is going to be moderating the session, and she'll be asking a few questions to the people, and then eventually at the end we can take up some questions from the audience as well. Yeah. We'll try to keep it concise. While we put a 90-minute slot, it is just to cover. Sometimes the conversations keep flowing, so we don't want to put a pause in between. But generally, we tend to cover about roughly about 50 odd minutes. Yeah, cool. So I think yeah, so we're all set. Lashna, over to you.
All right. Thanks, Abhinav, and welcome the audience as well as the panelists who have taken time out to join us for the HubSpot user group event today. So before we start off, I just so that everybody knows, the audience knows who we have today on the panel. I'm starting off with we have Anvesha Datta, head of marketing at ESR Group. Muskan Singh, who's associate director at Tanla Platforms. We have Piyush Modi, who is Associate Director Global Marketing at Collabra Digital. And finally, we have Sakshi Mittal, Growth and Marketing Manager at Paytm. So, welcome, panelists. I think before we get into the whole discussion about HubSpot, I would like it if you could maybe start us off with a little brief about what your role entails within your organization. What does your current like team or marketing team right now looks like? So Anvesha, if you could maybe start us off.
Hello, everyone. Great to meet you here. Just a little bit about ESR so that you're aware like why we started using HubSpot in the first place. So we're technically a real estate asset management platform. We're the third largest in the world, biggest in Asia Pacific. Our model is managing all these real estate assets, which are like industrial parks, the warehouses, large scale data centers, etc. To manage these, we also have to lease these properties. And that's why we have a leasing team across the world. And leasing team will definitely need leads, which are very, very difficult to come by. Imagine people like Amazon coming to you for a 1 million square feet warehouse, or somebody looking for something which is very specific in the industrial category. So it was a very, very skewed group that we wanted to target. And that has been happening through our events, through our a lot of online marketing activities, and obviously one-on-one interactions. But there was data all over the place. There were people doing their own thing. We didn't have a single view of what was happening in terms of all the data that we're generating. What is the view on that? How it is coming to the funnel? So I think HubSpot was very much needed for our organization, where we kind of integrated all tools into one. So everything gets channelized. We have a single view, and then creating autonomy where people are responsible for certain kind of leads that are generated and getting a quicker response. So we have been using HubSpot in the past, say, 7 to 8 months. I would say the biggest challenge for us was, getting people to buy into the process.
Mm-hmm.
And also like adoption. Throw anything new at any team, the hardest part is, though you believe in it, making other people believe in it and using it day in, day out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the challenges we faced, which is we are still getting around it. But yeah, it has been a great experience so far. I think it kind of streamlined my process because we run a very lean marketing team. We are dependent on the leasing guys to follow up on these leads, qualify our MQLs, and kind of follow us with the funnel. So I think my job ended at the
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I think Anvesha, you put yourself on mute accidentally.
So sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so we have a very lean marketing team, about 2 to 3 people who work with different agencies, but we are reliant on the leasing team to actually give us qualify our leads and follow through with the process. So that's where we are, 7 to 8 months using HubSpot. It's been great so far. I'm sure there are a lot of I would say not a perfect thing because everything is evolving over time, but
True.
till now I just felt like it has automated a lot of processes and made my life a bit more simpler, considering we are a very small team to like run like bigger operations as such, and consistently give at least like 20 to 30 leads per week. So it has been quite, and it has actually helped me. So I would say yes, it increased my MQLs. The quality of leads have improved, process have streamlined, saving time. And yeah, I'll wait to hear from all of you about your experiences.
Sure. I think Anvesha has sort of taken us right into the thick of things, essentially. Yeah, sure. If out of any of the three panelists, one of you would like to take it from there, just introduce your professional responsibility, and then maybe a little bit about the team that's currently using HubSpot.
I think Anvesha, by the way, guys, hi. First of all, my name is Piyush Modi. I am Associate Director of Collabora Digital for Global Marketing. My I won't get into a detail, but basically everything under the sun, I'm doing it. Right from, getting everything, right from getting the branding of the t-shirts, which goes to the employees, to getting the leads, managing global events, campaigns, social media, and everything. So, and I run a team of 10 people, and which comprises of creative people and then lead generation and campaigning teams. And I've been working with them. So, yeah, I was coming to the point that I think Anvesha has kind of summarized what HubSpot, what exactly goes on, in a marketing professional's journey, where, everything and why they would need a tool like HubSpot. It's everything is just like scattered before, you have something like a CRM tool with you. I had people in my team who were working all of these things manually, and still we were not able to make sense out of most of the data. There were data coming across from, and there were a lot of places where we didn't even know that there are kind of insights which you can get. Yeah. So the first leg of marketing, when you're establishing a team and when you're getting into some kind of a work, so it's focused more on coming up with campaigns and starting whatever you would want to do, and trying and experimenting things. But then what after that? You have experimented, you have tried this, you have got actual feedback from people. They will just appreciate it that okay, that campaign was success. But how would you put method into that? How would you put data into that and insights into it? How would you bring some insights from all the campaigns which you have been running? And that's where tools like HubSpot come into play. And we have been using it from past 5 or 6 months. I won't say that I'm like an expert in it. We are still learning it. We are still figuring out that how we can leverage it. I think that this team has been very kind. I call them at maybe 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. I'm just like, oh, I'm stuck with something. There's this person called Rajiv who has been and he would just tell me that, okay, Piyush, this is what you're supposed to do. And earlier, I had assigned this tool to my team. I had asked them that, that, okay, do this. We have got the subscription, get it done. But then when they started working on it, then I realized, okay, this is something which I want to learn. This is something, because unless I have the knowledge of how it works, I won't be able to handle team. And that's when I went hands-on, understood the workflows and how all these things take place and what kind of insights we are getting it. And I keep on exploring it. I keep on figuring out what helps. So in terms of marketing, yes, I can see there is a lot of scope, and there is a lot of process which comes with HubSpot. I think it's doing a job of 2 marketing executives, in my team. I would just keep on talking to them, and I would ask them that, can you please bring some kind of efficiency? Can you bring some kind of insight? And I think HubSpot does it brilliantly. But of course, HubSpot is a learning curve. It requires patience. It requires you to spend that or give that commitment of time and understanding of how that platform works, and then from there you can take it forward.
Okay. I think you've said a lot of things that I would want to circle back to later and sort of dig deeper with all the other panelists as well. Muskan, if you would like to maybe take us next.
Hi everyone. I'm the Associate Director Marketing at Tanla Platforms. Just to let you know about little bit about Tanla Platforms. So we are one of the biggest providers of business communication in India. With business communication, what I mean is we are the power behind, most of the OTPs that you receive for either from your bank or from your delivery partners. One of the biggest projects that we've done as a company has been enabling co-win OTPs for everyone. And we work with some of the largest banks in the country. Almost 9 out of 10 banks are with us, and they've been with us for over 7-8 years. Similarly, with all the market leaders when it comes to different enterprises. But as a marketing team, again, I think as Anvesha and Piyush already mentioned, we are also a very lean team. So what mattered for us was to get the right platform. We worked with HubSpot in the past as well, and this time, we've been onboarded with them for like almost 2 months now. And the thing has been that we wanted one platform to enable a lot of our scattered marketing activities, just give a cohesive view. I think that what I'll sum up is one of the earliest wins for us has been, for HubSpot, has been getting a single view of all the ads, how people are interacting with our ads, what are they doing after it. So it has been one of the quick wins for us, I would say, that now we can predict that, which particular keywords or whatever has been affecting and how many people are actually engaging with which pages, etc. So that we've been able to, get at least the base for a lead scoring mechanism in place. I think that has been some of, one of the quick wins. In the past that we've associated with HubSpot, we've had the Tanla blog on it for a very long while, which has again been something, which worked out very well for us, because, it didn't involve, it was a easy and quick process to manage our keywords as well as our ads and manage the blog along with it. So I think that has been something that are the topmost wins for us when it comes to both our associations.
Right. Okay. All right. And Sakshi, if you would like to lead us in.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I think very well said, Anvesha, Piyush, Muskan. I completely agree. I'll try to add a kind of different angle to what all has already been said. Like I'll first tell a bit about my role and what Paytm entails and where we're using HubSpot as a use case, right? So, like Paytm overall, most of us would be aware it's one of the biggest fintech platform in the country right now, and we work with the ads division of that, so it's a different business unit altogether, right? So while I gather from Piyush and Vesha, Muskan, all of you guys, that there were a lot of activities that were already happening and you wanted to tie it all together, that was probably not the case for Paytm ads, because it's a relatively new business. As the user base grew for Paytm, they wanted to go out to the market first, out saying that, okay, there is a ads platform and you can use this audience to actually advertise, right? So it was more of a GTM strategy where a use case of HubSpot probably wasn't fitting in, and they wanted to get someone on board to just establish that narrative, to just go out to the market and say that this exists and what it stands for, what it brings to the table. If you compare it with the overall advertising ecosystem, which is, let's say, Google or Meta, right? So initially they were not really trying to get on board a tool, but as we attended events, as we were going out there in the market, talking to people, we realized there was a lot of queries, there was a lot of product evolution that was happening, and that needed to be communicated to this particular audience, right? And that's when we started using HubSpot, started exploring the case to get it on board, and then trying to tie it all in. So there's a lot of business units that are working in silos, but we were trying to bring it in. And I think the biggest advantage that getting onboarded with HubSpot brought to the table was that I was directly, since it was a new team, it was just one person, we were able to hire people who got right into the execution bit of it and actually strategizing what needs to be done, because it was already there on the platform. So a lot of execution, a lot of junior resources could have been just left out, and we just rightly hired someone who can just strategize right there using the tool itself.
Right. Okay. I think thanks for like just those quick introductions. Like now, I think we have an idea of how, or like a summary of how you guys are using HubSpot. And I think I noticed a few elements that I think I would like to unpack over the course of the discussion. So I think the first thing that something that Piyush mentioned was that there is definitely a learning curve with HubSpot. And so for people who are just getting it, and all of you have been like maybe less than 6 months or even a little over 6 months with HubSpot at this point. So just if you were to look back upon your journey with HubSpot, how important is it to have, let's say, a team, or even have, let's say, somebody to onboard you on to the platform, not just you, but like onboard your team as a whole onto the platform, and whether that is helpful or whether you think that sort of speeds up how soon you see a win with HubSpot. So I think Muskan, if you could maybe start
Yeah,
off
so
on that.
I think it would be a good point for you and Abhinav. So it was one of the consideration points for us to figure out if we can have the right partner, and we chose, to have onboarding in India because we wanted the timelines to be similar. We wanted somebody to be available and help us with the complete onboarding, because my team, which has been working on it, was going to work with HubSpot for the first time. So it was very, very critical to have the right partners to get onboarded. I think we have Rajiv on the call. Rajiv has been a good partner for us to get us onboarded, help the team set it up. So it was one of our critical points for onboarding.
Okay, and sort of, was it always decided, or like what made you feel the need that we need somebody to onboard and not just like let the team explore or on their own?
So, yeah, it comes from past experience that having the right partner makes a lot of difference when it comes to either exploring, it becomes a factor of time also. As I mentioned, that it's a lean team, and, there are a lot of things that the team needs to take care of. So it makes the process easier than them exploring all alone and figuring it out with obviously there are resources, but it just makes it much more easier and streamlined.
Right, right. Anvesha, your take on that?
Definitely, we need a partner to get onboarded. Just that everything is structured. You're always fighting for time, and the longer it takes for people to understand a platform, they lose interest. The easier, more concise, compact way you can communicate and show them the benefits, easier people will adopt it. So I felt we definitely needed a partner. And as Muskan said, having a lean team, it doesn't help. Then you have to get everyone's time, and there's a lot of manual work that needs to be done just for people to come on board and be open to learning a new thing and adopting it. I think a concise, and obviously Rajiv has been a common person who's helped us all. It seems he's very effective, very well structured. Like the modules are very easy to like grasp, and it was easier for people who have not been new to the platform to understand how to use it.
Right. Okay. And Piyush, was a lean team and sort of like the time and the bandwidth, was that an issue? Like, was that a factor for you as well, or were there other factors also for you?
See, it's always an issue, time and team, and it's really. For me, it was also, how fast we can be productive, how fast we can get things running, Of course, it is about time, but, it is also about it, how efficient you guys can be. See, I think Rajiv, yeah, he's a one common person. I didn't know that, he was one person who has been a savior for all of us. But I'm one person who has given him the worst nightmares. Okay. So I'm a difficult person to work with, and I'm acknowledging it, okay, in this platform. So the module started with that, okay, so these are the tools, these are the buttons you have to click. I said, I don't want to know any of this, because this is something which is self-explanatory. I can understand. I have worked on other tools, so I understand that. I literally gave him case studies. I literally gave him that, okay, I have these issues. These are my problems. Now you help me and find a solution to it. Because it would take me a month to figure it out, that how HubSpot is actually working. And then Rajiv got Deepak on board and all of that. Full credits to Nisway team. They changed their entire training module just to come up with that, okay, this is what, this is you're looking for. And this is what, we are going to cater to you. And they changed the module. They came up in perhaps 15 or 20 days. And then the entire module of training changed. So it didn't become about, okay, you go to emails and click on this button and that button, blah, blah, blah. Because by that time I had explored little bit that, okay, what all these functionalities are. I was just like that, okay, so if I have to target these people and if I have to retarget these people and, if I have to send mails to them and, okay, there is of this workflow and how do I integrate workflow with our ads and all of this? So can you please explain this to me? Because I was I knew that, I had limited time and I knew that, all these problems are going to come after 3 months or 4 months of working.
Right.
And that's how I leverage. And I think that, that is where somebody, a partner is very, very important, because I think that for HubSpot and most of the tools, you go online, you will find tutorials. You go to HubSpot Academy, you will have people who would keep on telling about, okay, this is the process and all of that. And sometimes it's so difficult for you to understand a simple English as well, because you actually don't know what exactly they're trying to communicate, because you may be having some kind of a different problem altogether, and that is where you need somebody who understands, who has worked on this platform and who can come also. I would, just throw a curveball. I would ask them, okay, there is this one way. Is there a more efficient way? Okay, this is a workflow which I've created. Can you find that, what are the mistakes in it? Or this is what my team has done. Because for the entire team, and I would mention that, why I said it's a learning curve, because once you're starting the processes, you would know a few tools, few commands and all, and you will create a workflow. But then you would want to know that whether that workflow is efficient, whether that workflow is actually there's a better way to, to execute that workflow, or are there any problems in the workflows? So that is where, you need to have somebody who understands it. And I think that's why you do need a partner. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You need to have one.
Right. I think I would come to Sakshi here because I think she's one maybe hasn't interacted with Rajiv because I think her onboarding was with Swati. So Sakshi, do you also have like a different perspective to add, or was it similar issues for you in terms of like having or not having a partner?
Yeah, I think I would second Piyush on that. Definitely getting a partner on board, one, it brings a lot of structure. Second, it obviously buys you that time which you would have otherwise, spent in exploring. But we kind of did something very similar with Deepak and Swati, where we right away jumped into our use cases and then asked them to completely develop the workflows or campaigns accordingly, instead of going to a simple module which like Piyush mentioned, a lot of it is available. We've all had our learning curves, so that's still there, but getting a partner on board definitely helps you in working out those use cases quickly as you would otherwise do.
Right. And I think in Anvesha's answer, something she mentioned was that getting people together and getting them to learn the platform quickly, because if you don't do it, then you lose interest. And another thing that she mentioned was how to get everybody on board. So with every new tool, there is obviously that whole struggle. So especially with HubSpot, I would like to understand, like within your organizations, what was maybe the pushback, or how did you get people on board or get the buy-in? So Anvesha, if you could maybe lead with that.
So firstly, you have to get someone, everybody has to listen. So obviously I had the CEO's support on that. When we had the buy-in, he was the first person to buy into the platform. And, when he gets on board and he wants, and everybody has to kind of respect that decision. And I think it was a little of a push and pull strategy, both worked. And I think it started from there when he started, asking for reports and, kind of seeing, like, tracking what is going on with the progress. I think that really helped when people were not, kind of following through the process. I think firstly, just buy into someone who's important. And when he's on board, the rest of the team kind of, aligns with it. And then they start seeing benefits, right? Like, I think they were maintaining Excel sheets of different leads, what they've generated. Then they found, once they start getting a hang of it, they found the ease of the platform, the user friendliness, and, kind of how you structure it based on your workflows, how you have customized it for yourself. So they started seeing the benefit in, and their reporting became easier. My reporting became easier. So I think then once they see, like, okay, fine, I can spend 5 minutes just doing a report instead of going through multiple Excel sheets and, thinking about it, So all these things, when they have a weekly call, they could easily present what is going on each account and, have some kind of things to say before, like, before there was only Excel sheets and kind of, we didn't have a CRM platform. We didn't have to switch from another CRM platform, which was comparatively easier. This was the first time most of the people have used Salesforce earlier, so they were finding it a bit different. And but yeah, I think it's also the training. I think what Nisway provided people to understand how they can use the platform and the ease of it, and how we have built the workflows, and really helped in optimizing their time and for people to see the benefit in using the platform, especially with reporting and visibility purposes.
Right. So I think the ability to report and the visibility that it would bring for your team, I think that was one of the key buy-in points, and then obviously how quickly they could learn it. I think Muskan, I would like to know from you if it was like the buy-in, was that something similar in your organization as well, or were there other kinds of challenges or pushback to HubSpot, if any?
So as I mentioned earlier, we were on HubSpot earlier. Then we made a choice because we are integrating all the platforms across the organization. We've had some recent acquisitions, etc., in our company. So, but we came back to HubSpot because it was easier to use for most of the people in the marketing team. And we also evaluated again the features versus the requirements versus what, how soon can we get onboarded and get started with it. So all these factors were the consideration points for us. The buying decision was basically between marketing team and the finance team, basis the requirements and the budgets, etc. So
Right. Okay. So you were already using it and you already knew like what the upside could be, but then to use it more extensively, you guys did do another round of evaluation as to what's the
exactly.
right. And Sakshi, for you, was that also something similar at Paytm? Were there like other things in consideration?
Yeah, I think one fundamental difference I would say was that because being a fintech platform, there's a lot of sensitive information that Paytm stores as by the nature of the product, right? So that was the initial challenge that we had to really explain that this being a B2B use case, how would we differentiate the servers are not here? How would we make sure that, there are privacy policies in place and everything is right according to the guidelines? So, yeah, I think once that happened, we got an initial buy-in. For the rest of the teams, I would still say that we're still trying to get that buy-in even after implementing the product. And the strategy that we're using is that what's in it for me? Like for my sales team is, for example, divided into hunting and farming. Some part of the team is supposed to be upselling, and some part of the team is getting in new accounts, right? So I've created like different use cases for them that, okay, if you're supposed to be upselling, I have your customer data, you send them product updates, right? This can be done through the platform. So it's a very different kind of approach and communication that you'll have to follow for those use cases, and then keep getting that buy-in and getting them to use it all together. So it's still a process for me, like I would say.
Right, but I do think that's a very clever strategy as to just pitch to each team as to like what's in it for them. I think Anvesha did something similar. Ki, haan, if somebody is asking for the reports, then you can get it really quicker. You can get the report out quicker, and then for you, this is what you can do with the platform. So I think for anybody, any organization that's sort of just getting into the platform, what's in it for the users is probably a good way to get like ground level buy-in or change management, I would say. Piyush, just anything if you would like to add to uh, what
No, I think they
said.
kind of covered. It's just that it was kind of easier because I just played it smart. My managers, I was reporting to our chief sales officer at that point in time, and they asked me that, okay, this is not happening, Piyush. What should we do? And all I said, like, well, yeah, we need to buy HubSpot. So for every problem which I had, so not HubSpot as such, I would say that we need to buy a CRM tool. So I would just give that as an answer, and then they were just like, okay, so this tool is something which is just like required. For my team, it was not like they didn't have a choice, so they had to adapt. So I told them, this is what you're supposed to do, and blah blah blah. Of course, the biggest problem is just Muskan mentioned, just like always finance. It's always procurement. You have to always explain that every dollar which you're spending. And in my finance team, there are Gujaratis, which is the worst case. So the effort is like 3 times, or where you have to actually tell them that what exactly is happening. But eventually, everybody came around. I told them that, this is what is required. Of course, what I have to do is that I have to tell that, what the significance of the platform is, and they have to also understand that what the platform is adding to the table, and easy reporting, and also that's the value which marketing team has. But in terms of that, how it is affecting the other departments, specifically sales and all of this. So that's something which people are interested in. Sales team, again, there's a huge, it's again a different ball game altogether, convincing them and, asking them to just be used to this platform. So we are still in the process of doing that, and having that proper channel where the leads flow from the source to the person who's actually making that call and closing the deal. So we are doing that, but yeah, like I said, it's going to be a long process for the same.
Right, right. Yeah, so I think all of you are sort of going through that process, that just getting all your teams on board and getting them all on the same page. And it's great that despite that shift that is still happening, we're still starting to see some wins. I think just for the audience who have joined us here, I would like to give them a sense of the diversity of use cases that you guys are, let's say, maybe solving with HubSpot, just between the 4 different organizations that we have here. So if you could maybe go into, let's say, I'm sure there are like many processes that you would want to bring on HubSpot and all of that, but I just want to maybe go over what is it that you guys have started with? Like, what is the first thing that you brought onto HubSpot? Or let's say, what is the first use case that you started solving with HubSpot? Or maybe, let's say, the most critical one, or one of the more important ones that you're solving with HubSpot. So yeah, I think I'd like to start with Muskan on this one and then go around.
Yeah. So Nilanjana, we are working with the marketing hub of HubSpot. So that's the only one that we're using. So one of the challenges for us was that we have a different CRM and we have a different marketing hub. So for us, what we wanted to do with HubSpot was to qualify the leads, so that whatever goes to the sales team on the sales CRM would
Right.
be qualified by us before it goes to them. So that is something that we first started to look at. So that is one of the things that we've done. The other two things which have helped us out for HubSpot are, one is definitely the website and landing page creator. Earlier, we've just had one landing page that had to be, changed again and again by the dev teams, etc. So I think it just eases our whole process for marketing as such, to create more campaign pages, to create some, landing pages or gated content, etc. that if we would want to use. So I think those are the major points that we've started with. I think lead qualification is the more important and critical one, and whereas the other features have been like good to have for us. And we've only been here 2 months now, so I think the use cases will grow.
Right, right. So just to sort of maybe dig a little deeper. So the leads qualification part. So the main objective here was to save time for the sales team, so that they don't have to spend their time on like leads that are just like not qualified or not worth it. Right. And you're doing it on HubSpot through lead scoring, or is there some other process that you're currently
Yes,
using?
through lead scoring and the workflows, we've managed to streamline the kind of leads that we want. So we're using the dynamic active lists for creating those lists.
Right, great, great, great. And I think that's something that a lot of marketing teams do face, that the leads just come in from 5 different directions, and the sales is just like spread out too thin. And I think that's a great use case for starting to seeing some ROI. Just the team that's sort of going to bring in your revenue, how do you make them more efficient? So that's a great use case. I think next up, I would like to maybe ask Sakshi if you could share a bit about how or which use cases you're using within HubSpot.
Yeah, I think one is definitely the one Muskan mentioned, right? Like I said earlier, we've been going out to the market with the narrative in the first place. And the number of new contacts that were created on the platform gave us a good sense of how well we are faring there, right? We were attending events, we were actually we already had some clients on board, but that did not give a true sense of if we are actually able to penetrate deeper into the market, given the platform is just opened up for advertisers, right? So one was definitely that, and second, being part of the larger organization, like there's a payment gateway, there's other platforms also, just merchant on boards that happen over the platform, right, at a Paytm level. A lot of it was residing in terms of content on other places or other domains, right? And we're not able to really capture what the advertising side of things, how that's been, tracked, and that's been perceived by the audience, because the blogs were there, the communication were there. So we've been able to get that through the platform in one place, and now we see a clear differentiation of overall business versus just the advertising one.
Right. So basically showing what your team is doing or how effective your particular business unit is being, and sort of making that differentiation and bringing all of that through HubSpot sort of lets you showcase like my business unit or the Paytm ads business unit is sort of how that's performing.
I would not say that it was more of a showcase, because at an overall level the objective of the organization remains more or less the same, right? It was more about differentiating between how much of it is piggybacking on the Paytm name versus how much of it is actually working based on what we've created for the ads business.
Okay. All right. Cool. I think that's I mean, for any marketing team that's using HubSpot, that sort of comes out as like how much is the marketing teams or the particular team's contribution that is coming out of. For you, yes, it's a little more complex because it's a different business unit altogether. But yeah, to sort of differentiate that and see how much you can attribute to which team, I think that's a really strong use case that I think a lot of our clients also have that very same use case as to like how much of the revenue or how much of the impact can we attribute to marketing.
Right.
Sure. So great. Anvesha, if you could maybe have your side of things as well.
I think my journey has also been similar in terms of qualifying leads and actually seeing the efficacy of our different marketing efforts. First, onto HubSpot, I could see a unified view, which was very helpful for me to see which channels are performing well. And then obviously, like no leasing team wants to follow up on things which doesn't work out or it's not significant. So we kind of redesigned our forms so that we have more effective communication going, because we are very direct in what we want to say. Like, okay, beyond this, don't just fill out the form, not saying in a crude way, but just putting the message across. I think that also helped us in getting more qualified lead on how we want to communicate. And second thing, what really helped us, we had like a huge database scattered everywhere, and we wanted to make use of it because we used to use MailChimp earlier, and we had got like very good responses in terms of email campaigns. So we had like a 40% or 50% open rates even. So which actually was really good, and wanted to continue with it in a very systematic process and bring it under one platform. And that's what we did. As Sakshi also mentioned, like as you kind of going to events and seeing the efficacy of events, how they worked out for you, how the brand is spreading, if you're actually kind of generating any kind of revenue in the long run, or at least getting qualified leads, which is very important for us. I think that's all came under one platform and helped us have that view of how things are performing, whether events are performing, whether emails are performing, what kind of ads are performing. And then as you go into leasing and they kind of work on them and getting a singular view of how it has fared in the long run and actually contributed to growth and business as such. I think that's how we have used it. But yeah, consolidated view it actually helped us kind of seeing where our money is getting used, and it actually having an impact in terms of revenue.
Right. I think just when you talked about whether our events are performing, and I just want to understand maybe a bit more on when you say events are performing, how are you measuring that or looking at it within HubSpot? If you can maybe share
Yeah,
some.
so we get a lot of data from events, and then we do a like kind of a push email right after and seeing, and then it actually converted in actual leads, and with their side visit we close on business. So that's how we kind of judge the performance of our events.
Right. So you get the leads from the event and then engage with them over email and then see what comes of it basically. All right, great. Cool. And that I think brings us to Piyush, because you also specifically mentioned that you went right ahead with this is the challenge that I have and how do I solve that in HubSpot. So maybe just look at some of the more important or maybe critical challenges that you wanted to solve with HubSpot and how is that going so far?
Yeah. So for me, it was more about that. My first challenge was, of course, I have been running drip campaigns and all of this, but how what everybody has discussed about that, how can I bring everything together, I have data from all these places. How can I have a unified approach to my marketing? And that's what, my biggest challenge was. I think I told them that, this is what, and if I want to put some data from which I'm getting from my ads or maybe from an organic marketing, in fact, for that matter, how do I use that data? How I can, leverage it? How can I just create workflows around it? How can I have that, you know, um, different features and, integrate them together and then create a very integrated marketing campaign. So that was what I started with. So because like Anvesha mentioned, by the way, 50% open rate, Anvesha, I mean, you're genius. I need to
It's
get
really
some classes from
No,
you.
it's a
So
very, very skewed audience. So I think it makes, it's quite relevant for them. So I guess that's why it all depends on.
I
so I
mean, I will retire with
yeah.
50% open rate.
No, that's a crucial lesson too, because you said it's very so you've built your list right, which a lot of people don't bother
Yeah.
doing. So building your list right is what also gives you good open rates. I think that's something that a lot of people don't I think take into consideration. They're always focused on what email we've written, but building the
Yeah.
list right with the right audience is also important, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I used my open rate was 20%. We were literally celebrating, in my company that okay, people at least read my emails, and also it's also because of the fact that we handle global marketing so across APAC and Europe. So and with the different audience, we have to keep on trying experimenting that what kind of content works, and once we get to know that okay, at least these people were able to read the mail. So the half the battle is done. That okay, that you're at least reaching that audience, and now you have to take it forward. But yeah, that coming back to the point that for me it was more about having that integrated approach and bringing sense out of whatever was happening. And I'm not saying that we are mature in terms of our HubSpot process and all of that. We are still learning. We are still figuring out that how we can still make it better, the leads which are coming from the website. So what are those leads, how we can retarget them, and how we can nurture those leads. So that's one thing which we use HubSpot for extensively. I also want to add one more point. I think Nilanjan, in fact, we had a short conversation yesterday also, which we discussed about. I won't say that HubSpot is one platform which can do everything, but it actually gives you an overview of what exactly you're doing. So when you are going ahead with strategy, when you're going ahead with management, when you're going ahead with what is working, what is not, HubSpot is one place which will give you that comprehensive, cohesive picture of what you're doing in your digital marketing. When it comes to detailing, of course, I would rather prefer Facebook marketing meta tool over HubSpot marketing or ads tool, because there, these platforms keep on evolving. These platforms
Mhm.
keep coming up with different features. So I would do that. But then at the same time, when the bigger picture is not to perfect one ad, but it is about getting one particular goal where you need to get these kind of leads. And you have an objective. That is where HubSpot comes into play. If you want to run any random ad and all of that, then you don't want HubSpot for that. You can go to Facebook ad campaign or Meta ad campaign, Business Manager, and then you can keep on doing your iterations and get your learning curve and understand what exactly is going on. But but that's where the journey ends when you're using Facebook ad manager. But when you want to utilize whatever is happening and whatever has happened and whatever is the result of this particular ad is, and then when you want to take it further, that's where you use platforms like HubSpot. And that's what we are striving, what we are still doing. My social media manager, they prefer their own channels because of the different, especially for organic marketing, whenever we are doing it. So because of the formats and all of this, so they prefer that. But I keep on pushing that. No, I want a very integrated picture. Also, one more thing in social media, I think that that one thing which has helped us is leadership positioning, or CEO branding. So when, for that matter, that when you want those kind of integrated organic campaigns where you want your employees to be also advocating the same thing, or maybe
Right.
using the same kind of content and all, that's where platforms like these come into play, and that helps a lot. So
That's true. I think,
also,
yeah, sure.
yeah, also I would want to add that, see, as a marketer, or as any professional, I always believe that, there are two ways you do things. Either you can be efficient or you can be excellent. And if you're able to marry the two, so you're going to be brilliant. And there is a lot of difference. People actually confuse efficiency with excellency. Efficiency is just to get the job done, to get the result which you are looking for. Excellence is based on quality. you know Earlier marketing, traditional marketing, was all about excellence. It was about that one campaign, one Favicol campaign, which we would see and we would keep on talking about and all. It would not matter that, and nobody would check that, what exactly is happening at the ground level. Now digital marketing is completely opposite. It's all about efficiency. It's all about that, whether you are able to get the result done. The copies are going to be pathetic, sometimes. That, there are some design language you have come in, you have thought of, and you would feel that, this is looking very brilliant, but people won't even click on it. It's just like, and sometimes there are copies which look rubbish, but then they work.
Work, yeah.
Yeah. So, and as a person, as a marketing, I won't say leader, but as a professional, it's always at least for me, it's always a conflict to how to marry the two, And if you are able to, then you are a brilliant as a person. And that's why we have leaders and we have, these marketing gurus who are able to bring quality and efficiency together. I feel that, the tools like HubSpot and all, so they bring that, they focus on that efficiency part of it. You have a process, you have set on, like you have put your brains into it, you know it. And now you want somebody to just follow the instructions and just add its own intelligence into it as well, and give you some nice data in maybe one slide. You don't want to understand the entire process of what happened and what led to what, which happens with a lot of, when you talk to your marketing executives and all. So that's the kind of data which you get. So that efficiency part is handled by places like HubSpot. You spend some time, 2 months, 3 months, and all of that, and then you have those set up. And now you as a person can focus on excellence. That how you bring quality to it. How you actually, and quality excellence is basically, I think it's kind of a self-actuation for marketing people. Nobody's patting your back and they're just talking about that, okay, you have done something brilliant. But this just one kida which you have, that one germ that you're just like that, I need to do something different. I need to feel great about what I'm doing and all of that. And that's one is creative side, and other is your in terms of your how you're making things different. So few months down the line, and in fact what happens in early on, that you end up doing those same things again and again and again. Then you hire people, and then you realize that those hired people are also, you're spending a lot of time in training them, and then they end up copying what you have been doing, because they would know that, Piyush like this kind of work. So I would not put my brains into it. I'll just share whatever I have, in my head, or whatever he likes. And that gives you a very biased way of running things. And when you want to change things, so there are certain placer processes which you can just put into automation, and that tool will give you actually the right insight. And you can then leverage that data, leverage that intelligence, and then put your excellence in terms of your thinking, in terms of your creativity, in terms of how you want to approach that. Okay, now what next, how I take it forward. And that's where that's why you need something like, or you need these kind of tools.
Right.
So,
I think that's a very important perspective. I mean, like, I would have thought about it in some manner or the other, but that's a good way to put it, because then the tool brings in efficiency. So then now you have the time to, focus on quality or focus on doing something new or something more exciting in that manner. Um, I think we've talked a lot about some of the positive sides or how HubSpot has sort of, let's say, been helpful. But we also understand, and because we help onboard different organizations and different teams, there's also that understanding that not every sort of setup process is going to go really smoothly. Sometimes there are challenges in terms of we want to get something done, but this is not being possible, or this has a few more steps to make possible than we anticipated, or something that you wanted to set up but it did not, let's say, there was a mistake there, or it was not well thought out, which is why you didn't, let's say, get the outcome you were hoping for, and then you had to like, go ahead and make a change or something like that. So I would like to know from you guys, in your journey so far, has there been anything like that that has proved to be particularly challenging, whether that got solved later or whether you're still trying to find a solution with HubSpot? Anything where you sort of faced a challenge, and how has that been? I mean, Sakshi, if you could, maybe we could start off with you.
Yeah, I think I have my team, some of my team here. So I'll first just take this for them that they are so sick of not being able to tag individual profile when they're posting from LinkedIn. That's just one of their pain points. We
I
just
would agree with that. I would agree with that.
I mean, because like those are the posts that really see some engagement for us. So we wish we could also have that on the platform. So this is the one for the team, definitely. But on an overall level, I feel that uh, knowing your company policies, knowing how things work at a back end, a certain kind of preparedness also helps you really navigate these challenges as and when you come across, right? Um, while having said that, we had a lot of restriction in terms of what the brand guidelines are, how should the landing pages look, how should the blog look, and that was one of the major challenge for us to actually replicate that into the platform. You probably underestimate the kind of support you'll need from a technical person, and that was something that we kind of figured out, but we are still in the process of doing that, so it's not completely sorted for us yet. But
Right.
yeah, that's one of the key things that we really found challenging.
Right, right. I think even though, I mean, as Muskan said, you can set up your own landing pages, but knowing your brand guideline and being able to actually replicate your brand guideline and how the form looks and how the button looks, and putting up all of that on HubSpot, some of it is drag and drop, but I do agree some of it you do need some amount of technical help, definitely, to get that going. And I think me not being a technical person, that has been one of my continuous struggles with HubSpot as well. But like once it's set, it becomes easier to do it. But that one-time setup is somewhere you do need some help. Sure, and agree with the LinkedIn one as well. Definitely. Cool. Muskan, any challenges that you guys might have faced?
Yeah, one of our things was even during, the consideration process for the tool, we wanted to check that if there's a native integration with our CRM. There is a native integration. However, when we were doing the actual integration with our CRM, some of the form fields were not translating from the CRM to this and vice versa. And then we got to know that, maybe we'll need the operations hub for all the form fields to be working correctly. So I think that is a challenge. We are still trying to figure out the best way possible from there.
Okay, okay, all right. Yeah, I do understand. Sometimes you expect something to work out like really easily, but then you sort of hit another sort of roadblock along the way. Sure. I hope. I mean, is there a solution that you guys have been able to arrive at, or is it still something in progress?
So we are working with the existing form fields for now, and we are seeing, where all our sales versus, this particular CRM's integration will get in place. So basically, once we hit some roadblocks, that's when probably we'll have to refigure and reconsider what we need to do.
Right, right, right. All right. And then, Anvesha, anything that you might face, you and your team?
A little bit of roadblock with the chat process. I think we're still figuring it out with Rajiv, because we used to use a different chat platform. Now we migrated to HubSpot since it's included in the marketing hub. Other than that, I think some of the workflows still need to be tightened in terms of the kind of visibility I want. It's again, as Piyush said, it's a learning process. We all are learning, and kind of evolving with the platform. Some of my leads are not getting tracked, like I get a different view. We also track it at the back end. But unlike you guys, I've not been implementing the landing pages through HubSpot yet. I don't know about your views because my digital agency gave me a scare saying that it will have some impact on traffic. I would like to hear if somebody faced anything in terms of getting the landing pages done through HubSpot compared to having their own way of doing, like the previous way of doing landing pages and managing through the CMS or something.
Sure. I think if you're doing a landing page from scratch on HubSpot, that's the same as building any other page. I think if you're migrating some page that's already been doing well somewhere else and then you're bringing it onto HubSpot, that might have some SEO implications in terms of traffic because the URL might change or something like that. But I think if you're building something from scratch on HubSpot, that should not have an impact on how they perform or anything like that. But you should definitely maybe speak a little more in depth, try why they're saying what they anticipate might go wrong, and then maybe you can work on from there and see what needs to happen. But straight off the bat, I don't think it's a definitive statement ki if you make it on HubSpot, it'll have an impact on performance. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, obviously you are in contact with Rajiv, so I think he'll be the best to handle
Yes.
that for you.
Thank
I
you.
was actually about to add that, Anvesha, that the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to call Rajiv. I'm making notes of what all points you guys have talked about, which I haven't explored yet. So
Right.
I'm going to text him and ask him that okay, so these are the things which I have not explored yet. So what we can do about it. So yeah, I'm sorry I was speaking out of turn. Anyway, I
No,
just
I
wanted to make
think
this point. So,
no.
but for me, the frustrating part has been email marketing, especially templates. I'm not talking about workflows and all. That's like a piece of cake, but the templates, the design, and my team, everybody's like too demanding, as if there is just like the next email is going to be that one big ticket, which is going to do everything, for the company. So they would get into those kind of details, and they would know my bluff as well. That there's times when I would know that it's not that important, so I would just create something random, and they were just like, no, 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 we need something very creative, very this, very that, and that is where I think that I'm not able to leverage HubSpot. It's a nightmare for me to create an email on HubSpot when I have to do something which is nice and creative and all. There are no, like, the presets and the templates are very limiting. So until unless the email is very plain text, I don't go to HubSpot. I would rather work with my designer, create something, create some banners and all of that. Even if I have those banners ready, uh, it is very challenging for me to, in fact, even use those tools. I think it's not. I find email or Mailchimp more friendlier, in terms of designing all these templates and all that. So HubSpot is not that place for you. So that's one thing, which I face most of challenge. And then I think Sakshi, Muskan, and Visha, they mentioned LinkedIn and social media platforms. It's a pain point, like scheduling and all of this, it's fine. And then after a point, my social media manager would come to me and she's like, that, can I please use that, their own tools, because, I can't tag this, I can't use carousel, I can't add videos, or there's this challenge or that challenge and blah 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 blah. So those are the places where I think that the platform needs to evolve. As of now, it's just touching the surface at many places, and while it is like one-stop shop which you talk about, but it has to evolve. It has to have those kind of features which Mailchimp has, perhaps, or maybe or other tools, or maybe Hootsuite has, and so on and so forth. So yeah.
Right. I think that is true. The social media part, I think that's not something that the platform itself is like focusing on currently, I guess. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very scratching the surface at the moment. I think I do understand that. I think for your social media manager, it's I mean, they might be better off posting on the platform and then just tracking like a overall performance or a comparative channel across performance on HubSpot, just to see, okay, Insta is doing this and Facebook is up by this much or whatever. So some sort of metrics or comparative metrics maybe on HubSpot, but maybe the
Also,
something they can do
I realize, I don't know about others, but there are times when I get different numbers from both the platforms. that when I go to LinkedIn and if I go to Insights, I would get different number about how the a post is performing versus if on HubSpot.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it gets very frustrating, you know. So there are certain places where I don't rely on HubSpot, especially on social media marketing. I don't.
Right.
You know, email marketing, if I have to actually do the internal marketing and, you know, those creative things and all those flyers, if I have to send, I don't even try to touch it. But yeah, when it is about putting processes and, you know, setting up workflows and all of this, so that's where I use HubSpot.
Right. All right. All right. I think we've sort of covered a lot. I mean, I didn't realize we've already been at it for an hour or so now. Yeah. So I think we've sort of covered right from getting the buy-in to getting your teams on board to challenges and what's it that like the benefits that you're seeing out of it. I think that's most of the questions that I have. I would like to hand it over to Abhinav now to see if you might want to ask anything or sort of bring in any other perspective with our panelists. So yeah, Abhinav, over to you.
Sure, thanks, Nilashna. No, I think I don't have a question, although, just on that last point what Piyush was talking. So, in general, no two platforms will ever give you the same number, right? Everybody has a different tracking mechanism and they will all say theirs is right. So, it says, I think I've been a marketer 15 years and I've never found, two platforms saying the same thing. So, it's never the same, right? Uh, no, but yeah, in general, I think I heard a lot of great things, and I still may want to. I don't know if I can nudge and push and ask that. How do you get change, into your organization? Because honestly, as an agency, we've done with so many customers, and still every single time we face that challenge. That okay, the adoption, the person who's speaking to us, maybe a couple of more people, like really get into it, but the rest of the team is very slow to adopt. And interestingly, Piyush said that he just said that okay, there is no other way. You have to do this. You have to do this, right? But other, we've seen a lot of organizations saying, hey, no, we still. Some people even end up using their previous platforms. In fact, we've even seen cases like that, right? So, how any other input you guys have on how to bring in, the team buy-in after it has been purchased? The tool is there.
I would like to start with this because I've been talking about all of this, you know, a lot. I think, Abhinav, the first thing is, which I in fact shared with Deepak and Rajiv as well, is also about the partners. You know, what kind of orientation partners, do when you have when I have, for example, my team. So, do they go with just those buttons and all? And I know that there are people who would know about that, but the first session has to be about that, how actually your all the things that you have been doing are getting efficient, how you are able to, add, like how HubSpot is going to add value, because everybody is, kind of they're spoiled, nobody wants change, they would want that, whatever they have been working and what have been working for them, so that they want to stick with it until unless they see some other value. People wouldn't have adopted to chat gpt if Google was as efficient, but then when they saw that okay, chat gpt is this, so they would know that okay, so, and that's what, HubSpot and maybe the partners have to communicate initially, that and that's what even I did. For me, the first 3 sessions were very mundane. I was there and I was listening to it and I was like, it's not making sense to me. Why am I reading all these manuals? Where you are just clicking buttons, aap ye wo kar lo, blah blah blah, and all these emails and all. I was like, okay, I've done this, different, but it's not a rocket science as such. Yeah, the workflow is something which needs time, but other than that, it's not a rocket science. These are just processes. And these are the things which we can connect with you later also, because it's just like that, okay, I'm uploading this contact list, I'm getting stuck over here, so can you please tell me? But then rather than that, if I get to know the case studies, okay, this is what these companies, perhaps maybe Paytm, Sakshi's case, you don't have to talk about the company, but you can take a case study that this is what they have done, this is what Collabra has done, this is what Tane has done, I'm sorry, so all these platforms, you can talk about them and you can take those case studies, and then people would know that okay, this is what that's why this platform is relevant, and it's going to actually simplify my process rather than adding to my woes. So that's something which, and that approach has to change.
Yeah, that's a great point, Piyush. Yes. Sometimes people do get lost that, oh, okay, then person is new and I should take it like really basic. But I think what you're saying is right. To get a buy-in first, show them what is possible, and then come back and see, okay, what is the training actually needed, and probably that can drive adoption. Great point, Piyush. Yeah. What about any of you, Sakshi and Resha, Muskan, any other different perspective there?
Yeah, I think I've had the opportunity to work with a few marketers along my career, right? And one of them used to say that once is not enough, one person is not enough. And I think that completely resonates in this case that maybe we underestimate the kind of involvement it would require to actually onboard the team to give them those required trainings. And we later on realize when the buy-in is not happening, but once you prepare along the way and you keep doing those little trainings, and like I said, following that what's in it for me is kind of working for us. So maybe if you can structure the trainings along the way, and while you have a partner, I think it's also the responsibility of the marketing team to actually have those use cases built and pass it on to the team. And again, you'll have to be patient, you'll have to do that multiple times with multiple people. You'll probably find one salesperson who kinds of advocates it, and then through them you'll have to route it. So that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, no, that's there. I think in Paytm's journey also, a couple of people were really pushing for the platform while, I mean, this is before, you guys finally decided. But yeah, I was involved in that phase. I do remember, a couple of people really wanting to get to HubSpot, but some others, hey, we already have this. Why are we getting another one? And, those kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
And yeah. No, yeah. So yeah, one champion is needed definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Visha, Muskan, any other, you have any other opinion?
Yeah, I guess like we live in the world of influencers. You need somebody to inspire and follow, and give some kind of takeaways, incentives. So again, going back to Sakshi's word, what's in it for them, right? You have to create that value proposition, saving time, also like like a cool proposition. I can do a report in like 5 minutes instead of gathering data from everywhere. Everybody wants to shine. It's everybody's place, the competitive workplace, who shines better. So I think that way, if you position like you can do this in a certain amount of time without going through all this hassle. Everybody likes to look good, everybody likes to look smart, everybody likes to influence. So when other people see like, okay, fine, they can, they are shining, so what are we missing out on? So I think that's where it kicks in, and like, okay, we have to adapt and we have to outshine them. So I think there's a little bit of healthy competition and a little bit of influencer strategy, internal influencers, which has worked for us. And hopefully this goes on and they keep on seeing value in the platform. And I think my team, like when they started using it, they started coming back with feedback, how we can do this, how we can do that. When people are asking questions, then like there is a sufficient level of interest when they come to you instead of you going and pushing it. So I think that's just happening, and very happy about that.
Very nice. Yeah. Absolutely. When people ask questions, they're at least trying it out. Yeah. Great point. Muskan, any other point you want to add?
So for me, it's my experience. I've seen that marketing is generally the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to adopting anything new within the organization. We somehow become like the people who have to run it, who have to manage it, who have to get everybody else onboarded. And the most difficult part is getting the C-suite to buy into anything, whether it's budgets, whether it's adoption, or whether pushing for, cross department adoption. So one of the things that, helps is getting the right influencer in the C-suite who will helpfully get you to get the budgets as well as, drive that cross department efficiencies. So I think that's what we work with.
Okay. And so you kind of, after the purchase also, you probably, I mean, it's coming from them, so the team generally kind of adapts.
Yes, that helps.
Okay, got it. No, great points. I mean, all four of you have shared some points, and I think in our process, in our journey, probably we'll start incorporating some of these points. Maybe we'll see what is working. I mean, obviously, each organization will be a little different, and something or the other will work differently. Cool. I think this has been a great discussion. I know we are a little over time, or we are just in time. Okay, we are just in time. Okay, so good. No, but that went really well. I mean, so many great points, and I hope in the audience, people got some great points and how they want to maybe make some changes in how they are working with HubSpot. Cool. Quick question: any of you headed to Inbound? Inbound is HubSpot's flagship event that happens in Boston every year. By any chance?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. If you can get convince your boss, I think you should try that. It's a great event. I mean, obviously, you should have a US visa. Abhi to you can't get it quickly. So, but yeah, if you can, you should. It is a great event. I have personally been there 5 times before. The energy is just too good, and you get to learn. What we are hearing from 4 people, you will get to hear from I think probably 40,000 people. So how the impact of that. But anyway, good. So yeah, so I think that's a wrap for this event. Post Inbound again, we'll come back maybe in a couple of months. So Inbound is in September first week, yeah. So maybe September late or October first week, we'll come back with the next event for the user group. We'll see what do we want to talk about, but maybe something coming from Inbound. Maybe there are some good stories to share. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you all of you so much for joining today. Piyush, Muskan, Vesha, and Sakshi, thank you all so much. And Ilajna, thanks for being a great host. And we hope to catch up again. And maybe you guys are already talking to Rajiv now that everybody has said his name so many times. But yeah, we hope to catch up as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.